wow, like this is like truly incredible. Like we've built something that people are inspired by, motivated by, moved by, and they actually believe in the vision.
Where do you see new businesses or entrepreneurs go wrong?
I think one of the greatest misconceptions these days is
My youngest brother, Kazi Abidur Rahman. So weird. We've never had these discussions ever in our life.
don't do this to me, man. Why are you gonna do this to me?
The CEO of Tsunamas and also a co-founder could have taken another path, and maybe the brand wouldn't have taken off. Do you consider yourself to be an underdog?
I think that. Oh, that's a very difficult question.
Yeah.
Who put this question? Is it you?
How did that sacrifice come to you? I mean, how did it come across to you?
Like, you know, if you want to do good things in life, great things in life, you have to make some sacrifices, and there's no doubt about that. You know this, for weeks on end I was very confused, and I was asking almost like my family close people, like, what do you think I should do? I don't know what to do. So all of those things in mind, I feel like I have a huge responsibility on my head to
Dear viewers and listeners, welcome to Side by Side with Kazi Shafiqur Rahman. Today we have a very, very interesting guest with us. This is our first proper podcast show, and the guest we have does not need an introduction. He's, I am sure, on your feed throughout the day many times. So I would like to welcome my youngest brother, Kazi Abidur Rahman, who is the CEO of Tsunamas and also a co-founder. And today we want to really try and get more into his thinking and how he views the world, and how he what's his logical process to what he does. So without any delay, I want to welcome Kazi Abidur Rahman.
Thank you for having me as a first guest. It's an honor.
Thank you so much. So I guess my first question to you would be, what is your earliest memory as a person while you were growing up?
Good question, man. I know these questions are going to be hard because this guy probably knows me the best. And
I know, that's why I've been telling the producer, look, it is so weird. We've never had these discussions ever in our life.
Yeah.
And this is I think it's a historical moment as well, in terms of where we really face to face ask some really interesting questions.
Yeah. I think my earliest memories of me as a child was this ambitious person with dreams, but I was very shy. I was very, I didn't have a lot of confidence. You know, I was just this person where I really liked to do creative things, and I things like videoing, and I used to take your camcorder and record stuff. Those things like that were things that kept me going, but I was really shy. I was not confident at all. The way you see me today, I can talk on camera, I can talk to people, I have a lot of confidence. But I remember, in school and stuff, I was actually one of the shy ones. Like, my friends were the confident ones, and I was just that guy that didn't have a lot of confidence.
A bit like me, I used to dread the fact that the book reading, the sequence is coming to me, and I wish the teacher would somehow miss me. But it never happened. And I think we have the similar experience.
I think one of the moments that also changed that was, obviously, Dad.
Yeah.
He used to take me to a lot of competitions, and he used to just basically nominate me without speaking to me, without asking me. He used to be like, "You're doing this competition."
Yep.
So then I used to just have to go and compete, basically, and then that gave me the confidence to obviously speak in front of people or recite in front of people, and I think that broke the barrier a little bit, and I think that helped a lot. So yeah.
Okay. Right. Interesting. Now, is that the first thing that you remember, growing up? Because I remember, and I was telling the producer the other day, being chased by a dog. That is my earliest memory that I can
No, to be honest,
remember.
my strongest earliest memories were living in the building that we used to live in, Curry House. Well, that wasn't obviously where we lived first, but that was one of the earlier years where we used to live, and it was a very scary building to live in because I remember the lifts were pretty scary, and if you want to go up the stairs, the lifts aren't working. There used to be boys, hanging around on the staircases, and that was one of my strongest memories when I was a child. So yeah, growing up in obviously Poplar, which is, as you know, it wasn't a very nice area before. And I think those were the early memories. And I think one of the other memories that I had was obviously not having anything in terms of like whether that's shoes or jackets or clothing. Because I remember when I used to go to school, like my friends used to have like the latest Nike trainers and stuff like that, and Dad used to take me shoes on. And the most expensive thing I'd probably got is like £10 shoes. I just remember going in there with Dad and in Poplar Market and getting those shoes. So it's just all of those things growing up in Poplar, not having a lot of confidence, just being that guy basically that wasn't very popular at all.
I remember those days, I guess you had shoes on, and for me, when we migrated to the UK in April 1997, you were 2 at that time, and I was 11, and we had to go Sunday market to buy clothes.
Yeah, that's even
and
a
shoes.
step further.
That's even a step, backwards.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. You mentioned you learned, I guess, like me, the confidence element from Dad. He would literally just nominate you and say, "Yep, my son will perform this or that." What did you learn from Mom?
Oh, Mom has taught me so much. Like, I cannot express how much Mom has taught me. I think every day, in everyday life, whether that's personal relationships, whether that's business, whether that's anything, there is some element that I have learnt from Mom that comes into use. And I think some of the most notable things the first would be negotiation. I used to go with her Green Street back in the day shopping when she used to buy clothes, whatever, gold, whatever. And she used to walk in the shop. And I used to hate it at the time because it was so annoying. You have to wait outside or you have to wait with her. And she used to be like super, super persistent, like of getting the deal that she wants. So she would go in there and the guy would say £30 for this and she would say £15. It sounds so unreasonable and embarrassing at the time. But obviously she knew what she was doing. I mean, that's how the game goes in them places. So, and one of the main things that she never kind of settled for less. Like, she used to get the deal that she wanted or she used to walk away. And I think I still utilize and implement. And this, when I buy cars and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just settle for it. I want the deal what I feel is reasonable. And that's one thing I learned from Mum. And I would walk away and I would lose the deal happily if that doesn't happen. So that's definitely something I learned. And the other thing is diplomacy, relationships, how to kind of get along with people, how to build long-term relationships, because she holds very good relationships within the whole family, with her brothers, with her cousins, with everyone basically.
Even the neighbors.
10
years, kind of.
Yeah, so
behind us.
And I think that's something that obviously we both and we all took on board, which is that doesn't matter who it is, you hold on to them relationships long term, because you never know when that's going to become valuable and when that's going to add value. It's just part of who we are.
I think it's so important and it's so right, And this is, Mum isn't really like, some may assume she's got a uni degree or she's coming from a very kind of high kind of caliber of a family.
For a person that came from the village, effectively, she is a visionary. She is a big thinker. Like, I think one of the things that my brother Ashik was saying the other day was that she's such a big thinker and she's such a visionary that if one of us, just for argument's sake, I'm not saying we are, but if one of us became the president today or prime minister, she wouldn't be phased. Like, she wouldn't be like going crazy.
Wow, yeah.
Like, that's the level of her thinking. Like, she thinks everything is possible. It's very much within her kind of, thoughts.
So I guess moving on, the next question would be, I guess one of the theme of this podcast is to kind of try and find underdogs and speak to them and, learn about their story. Do you consider yourself to be an underdog? And if so, how?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, without a doubt. I mean, I remember like when we were on the stools, when we were like younger, we were looked down upon by people. Like, we were taking the mick out of almost. Like people used to, because what we're selling a product, it wasn't very fashionable. It wasn't very desirable. It was seen as something that, sometimes people wear, mostly in the Arabic. I mean, people in the Arab world obviously knew it and respect, but in our culture here in the UK, not many people knew about it, and they just see it when they go to Hajj, for example, or wherever, and people used to be like, "Oh, this is just kind of a thing that you give when you come back from
For
Hajj."
Friday prayers,
Or
or
for
when you
Friday
come back
prayers,
from,
yeah. So
Saudi. Yeah.
it was never seen as a thing that would be desirable. So people used to say, "How are you gonna sell this? How are you gonna make money out of this?" Like, all of these things to put you down. I mean, you heard it more than me.
Add beads, add hats, add tasbih,
Yeah.
add so many other ancillary products.
Yeah. And obviously we were kind of determined that no, we're gonna sell fragrance, and we're gonna sell fragrance only, and we're gonna make it something desirable and a lifestyle product.
And I think
And-
this is very interesting, because we could have been distracted. We could have taken another path and started adding other ancillary products, and maybe the brand wouldn't have taken off because it would have been so diluted. And I see this in our community so many times, where just because they're not getting particular type of clients, so they think they would add more products that will bring more of the other clients, but it doesn't really work like
No,
that.
100%. I think, especially in this day and age, the millennials, the Gen Zs, they like to use brands or focus on brands that are really specialists, that know what they're doing, that are authentic, that have a story, that have a heritage. So I think it's absolutely, so important, and I'm happy that we didn't go down any other route, and we stick to obviously what we were doing, which made us kind of market leaders in what we're doing, and almost we are the first people that have kind of paved the way for this kind of fragrance within the UK market.
Amazing. And that kind of brings us nicely to the recent event that we've had in Manchester, our annual staff gathering. And for me, standing up on that stage and trying to inspire the crew members and team members was so fascinating, because I remember back in 2009 when we used to sell from the back of our van and outside the mosques and events and fun fairs. No one ever imagined we would have a room full of 150 plus people, and potentially more, because some people didn't even turn up. So, like going back in time, it was fascinating that me and you were the only employees. And I remember one person sent us a CV at that time asking for a job. I was like, I'm the only worker here. There is no other jobs going.
Yeah. No, I think, like you said, seeing there, standing and watching our colleagues and our team members of all different colors, shapes, people that come from different backgrounds. I think that's so amazing, and that's one of the visions that I had, definitely, for sure, that, when we were bigger, we would like to make this company that's diverse, that welcomes people of all backgrounds. And I think it was truly phenomenal to see that we've achieved that. And, all of these people believe in the same vision. And when people come up to me and they're like, I can't wait for Sunamas to get to this level or that level, and I can't wait to progress with Sunamas, I think, wow, like this is like truly incredible. Like we've built something that people are inspired by, motivated by, moved by, and they actually believe in the vision and the mission. So yeah, I think that in itself is
Definitely, because look, let's face it, the narrative within our community, at least, I'm not sure about the other communities, is if you reach a certain level of success, then you kind of try and fit into the society, instead of trying to kind of work backwards and trying to make other things work around you. And I think with Sunamas, just by the name itself, we've kind of stuck true to our kind of origin and the roots, and we've kind of never kind of given up on our identity and who we are as people. And I think we're doing good in that sense. And of course, there are a lot of people who might disagree, but the reality is, we're operating in a mainstream environment with mainstream stakeholders, and it's very difficult to sometimes, yes, we are staying true to our origin, but I guess it's also kind of adapting.
I think that's an interesting point, because obviously working in the current environment that we work in, with the people that we work in, it's very difficult to have that balance, and it's truly a real challenge. And we work on this every day to try and strike that right balance between not going too far, but at the same time working with everyone, trying to kind of accommodate all the different cultures. And I think we try and do that the best to our abilities. And so far, it's been pretty successful. Obviously, that's also subjective. Some people might disagree, and some people might think or say we do wrong things. And obviously, as humans, we all make mistakes sometimes. There's no doubt about that. But from what I, from my own perspective, we do everything that we can to try and stay within a certain limit and not cross that boundary. But at the same time, try and accommodate and be all-encompassing.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now, I guess let's make a bit more progress with our questions that we have here. Where do you see new businesses or entrepreneurs go wrong in their journey?
I think one of the greatest misconceptions these days is the whole get rich, get fast, quick kind of idea, vibe, social media trend, whatever you want to call it. I see that on social media, a lot of people trying to get rich quick. You and I both know this. There is no such thing as get rich quick, open a business quick. My own sort of values and visions when we start businesses or when we start startups is that we've seen through the experience of Sunamas that when you do things the proper way, yes, it might take longer. Yes, it might be harder. Yes, it might not be as cheap, or it might cost a lot more. But the long-term results, the true results that you get in the end, are a lot more worth it and a lot more fulfilling. So I think that people try and take shortcuts when they do things, which I don't believe in. I think that you should do things the proper way, even if it takes longer, even if it takes more money, because end of the day, even in Islamic teaching, it says if you're going to do something, do it the proper way, do it properly, do it to the best of your abilities. So I think in every way, you should try and do things properly and not take the short routes. And I think that's one of the common mistakes people make is to try and cut corners. Cutting corners is not the one.
Yep.
And also, obviously, within our community specifically, I think that people now they are, to be fair, like people are thinking a lot bigger. I see a lot of more creative ideas, but I think we need to think bigger. Like we need to go bigger. We need to go further. Like we need more people doing things like Chaiwala. People like Chaiwala smashing it.
Absolutely.
People like Archie's. They're killing it. I love to see these brands that are coming from similar heritage to us and that are really killing it, because back in the day we didn't have that. But to see those brands like you see Archie's in airports, like they're killing it. I love to see that. I love to see that progression. I just saw Chaiwala on ITV this morning today.
Yeah.
Like things like that really inspire me and make me happy. And again, just kind of connecting to that point is that be happy for other people. Like if other people are making progress and they're successful, there is no harm in you wishing well for them. It's not going to make a difference to your life. Just be happy, spread good vibes, make dua for them, and that's it. Carry on with your day.
Definitely. You mentioned Chaiwala and Archie's, and I guess Sunamas could be another brand that could be categorized on that same platform and level. Are there any other ones that you can think of? Because I have tried to think of companies that are customer facing that has the similar level of kind of credibility and publicity and big at the same time.
Yeah, you got people like Heavenly Desserts, they're doing well. Mainly, obviously, F&B, you got people like GDK, they're smashing it. Mainly within F&B, to be honest, not so much in like cosmetics or beauty. I think we need more in beauty and cosmetics and other industry, tech and other industries. I think F&B is quite the obvious, because obviously South Asian background, we're all into food, I guess. So that's probably why.
I mean, we love food.
That's probably why all of these kind of businesses are coming out. I mean, we even kind of did that ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think we need more businesses and more brands in different industries and crack different markets. I think that's what would be interesting.
So how do you now balance between real estate investments and going into something a bit more kind of into an unknown territory, because we do have a lot of real estate investors within our communities. How would you then encourage them to think further afield?
I think real estate investment is obviously secure and and it makes people money without a doubt. We've seen this for decades and years on years and years. There's no doubt about that. But what a business can do in a short amount of time, I don't think real estate can do and serve that same purpose. Like for a startup, from a valuation of nothing to get to 100K to a million to 10 million to 100 million, that growth you can see within a startup business. And I don't think a property can do that in 10 years, in 15 years, what a business can do. And not only that, a business gives you the ability to generate cash flow. So you get instant cash, you get the liquidity, you get the money coming in. You can then funnel that to do other things like buy properties or invest into another business, or invest into stocks or crypto, whatever it might be that you're investing in. It gives you that flexibility to get the cash in and to fund it in different ways. Whereas property, you put it in, your money's stuck for a while, you get your slow returns, and then when you sell it, you get that money out. So it's a little bit more of a slow kind of, I would say it's more of a long-term investment, as opposed to, say, for example, if you're in your 20s and you want to really, do and achieve your dreams quick, then I would recommend definitely investing into business as opposed to real estate. I think that's more for long-term compounding money and building that wealth long-term.
And from a representation point of view of the community, don't you think it's also important to kind of have more businesses that are out there? If we look at our Jewish community,
100%.
So many retail businesses, so many customer-facing businesses.
100%. And I think with business, you get to network with people, which adds to your sort of personal network, and you meet people, you talk to people, and that in itself has value. You get influence. You sort of over time, make friends, make sort of important connections, and that gives you influence. And I think that's obviously very important to make social impact, to do good things in the world, whether that's charity work, whether that's making an impact in your own community. You need to build these connections, and those connections come through usually business and networking with people. And obviously real estate, there's not much you can do in that sense.
Okay. You've already automatically answered my question in terms of how do we specifically do business in our community. But is there anything specific about Bangladeshi community? Obviously, we're both Bangladeshis. How do we do differently? I mean, obviously, Sunamas is kind of different in that sense, but generally.
Do you mean in a good way or a bad way?
Both. It could be both ways.
Interesting question. I think Bengalis are, like I said, I think that in general, our people, they like to sort of downplay their abilities a little bit. From a negative point of view, they like to downplay their abilities. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, how do you manage your shops? Like, you got so many shops, how do you manage it? Like,
which shop do you sit in?
Yeah, which shop do you sit in? Or do you have a relative in your one of your shops? And I think like that's the kind of vision and the mindset, is that obviously you have to have someone there. And obviously that's quite a sort of small mentality, in the sense that you have to have your own sort of relative within a business to operate it. But the truth is, look at the biggest organizations, largest companies in the world. They operate with management teams, and that is a process and a brand and a infrastructure that they've refined over time, and they've basically built processes and controls where they don't have to have someone of their own sitting there. It's the process and the controls that will regulate all of these things and ensure that things are in line. Not to say everything is always perfect. A lot of corruptions have happened in many organizations, but I mean, most of the businesses around the world, the cross-national, companies that operate in different countries, they all operate with processes and controls and management teams. So I think having that, sort of getting that out of that mentality of that, if you want to operate a business, you have to be there.
Is it trust? Could it be a trust issue?
Yeah, I think it comes down to trust. And I don't know, maybe it's personal experiences, trauma, dealing with family and friends that have caused this to come and sort of affect their mindset. But I think, having a bit more trust, having a bit more faith, openness, be open to make mistakes and learn from it. Like, for example, instead of us, like we're kind of growing into different countries. There is a possibility that we could make a mistake. There is a possibility that someone could mess us over along the way. But you're not going to know until you kind of do it, right? I mean, you're going to do everything to the best of your capability, try and protect yourself from being in that situation, but it still could happen. And I guess it's just, kind of doing it And as you say, and something that I learned from you is throw yourself in the deep end and just kind of, sometimes let it work out,
Yeah.
Backwards. So yeah, sometimes you just got to do that and kind of get on with it, see how it goes.
Where do you think, like, so I've experienced from our community, like we like to, one element, there is lack of trust in terms of when it comes to growth and multiple locations. But then again, there is too much trust when it comes to partnership issues. Yeah, let's do it. It'll be
That's
okay.
true. That's true. And I think that also comes from maybe, sometimes a lack of professionalism in that sense. Like, we need to be a bit more professional when we do business. Like you said, in partnerships, a lot of the time people get into business, they don't have proper agreements. The roles and responsibilities of each person and shareholder is not crystal clear. And one thing we know in business, just from working, even as brothers, we're very clear in what we do. We write emails to each other like as brothers. You'd never think that, as brothers, we would probably just pick up the phone. But when it's something important, when it's something that's critical that we know could cause issue, we communicate on email, right? It's so that it's very clear, if there's any issues, we can refer back to it and you can't say I said this and I can't say you said this. So I think communication, recording things, contracts, things like that are very important to
and
avoid.
even having third party involved where it
100%.
can become very sensitive.
And I think it's quite bitter at the time. Like, let's say, for example, you're doing a partnership with a very close friend, and now you're saying, we got to get into this. We got to get someone external and get a partnership agreement made. They're going to think like we've been friends for like 15 years. You don't trust me. Like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you rather protect yourself now than have a problem later down the line. Where,
and it's
you
also
said
protecting
this and
that friendship and relationship.
100%. And also, it's about, my personal experience, it's also about choosing the right people. Like, I know certain characteristics of certain of my friends, and I know if I'd be able to get along with them on a business settings. And I know certain other people that I could get along with. So it's about making those conscious choices. Like, is this the right person? Can we get along? Does our mindset align? You can't just get into business with anyone, because next thing you know, you're going to be quarreling and fighting, and it's just, you're going to lose money, time, headache, everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, I guess these are the two key things that we've kind of noticed within our community. Is one could be trust, lack of trust and too much trust. And I think we could balance it out by getting a proper legal agreement in place. Now, moving on a little further, how do you see the relationship between Sunnah Mosque and our community as a whole, not just Bangladeshi community, but the community that we operate in?
I think for the most part, people are very inspired and they love what we're doing, because it's almost like a legacy brand where no one's kind of done this before. So I think for the most part, people are supporting, people are rooting for us, people are saying, yeah, do it, go for it. But there is also a part of the community that obviously have a criticism or criticize what we do or how we do things. But I guess that's kind of natural. It comes with everything, right? You get a few people that are criticizing you. And no one can be perfect. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that, but that's how I see it.
I mean, obviously, we have to face the fact that, yes, there will be people that, I wouldn't say they hate, they just disagree with how you do things. And maybe they will probably be convinced if you had the chance to explain to them why you do what you do. I mean, a lot of the things that we do within Sunnah Mosque, people will, if they were to speak to us on a level, on a one-to-one basis, they will find that it's not something that we are doing out of our own will. It's something that the environment or the circumstance makes us do. And I'm not saying, that's the majority of the things that we do. I think majority of the things that we do, probably 95 to 97% of the things that we do is very ethical. If you look at financing, if you look at how we deal with things, matters, situations, we like to keep it very ethical and fair and proper. So, and of course, yes, we have certain people who are not happy with the way we do things, and it's inevitable.
You can't please everyone, man.
Absolutely. And it's look, we're operating in a country, in an environment. Put the country aside, obviously it's the UK. The certain things happen in a certain way. But if you look at the mainstream space that we operate in, everything operates in a certain way. There's a norm out there. And as a brand, we're trying to say, no, actually, we don't follow that norm. We like to do things a bit differently.
Especially within advertising and marketing. I'm not going to say how normal companies, advertise. We all know how they do it. It's very much a certain type of appeal is used to attract the audience,
especially with cosmetics and fragrances.
It's predominantly that. I would say most of the ads that you see are like that, and what we're trying to do is find that, again, strike that. It's a challenge, striking that balance between kind of creating a very good creative that resonates with the audience, but also at the time sticking to our ethical values of not using that type of appeal.
In fact, it does pass a positive message as well. So the Abid Amre advert that we've done, the storyline is something to do with intentions, right?
Yeah, having good intentions, most people, it might even just kind of go over their heads, but there is a good message behind every single sort of big creative that we do. We have a message, but if you look into it like that, Abid Amre ad was every, intentions are judged by your kind of, what you... Your actions are judged by your intentions. So, there is always a good message. I think it's for people to find the good within things and not the bad within things.
They have to read between the lines to kind of really understand the story. I guess I would encourage our viewers and listeners, next time they look at something from Sonomas, try and, look at it from an objective point of view, like, what does it mean? What are the things in between the lines? Now, moving a bit further, give me some details around maybe some of the deals that you've done or transactions that you've done, and any challenges that you've faced, or what your strategy or logic was behind those deals. Like, you could use any deals.
So I'll give one example that we still use and operate with, even though compared to 12, 13, or even, let's say, even 3-4 years ago, we're probably a much larger organization than we were. We operate on a zero budget kind of operation. And that is something that...
Tell us what the cost is, and then we'll see if we have the money
so that is something that we've been forced to learn as a startup. We don't have no money. When we go to someone, people ask you, what's your budget? We don't have a budget. There is no budget allocated for this. You tell me what you're going to give us as service. We're going to see, we're going to evaluate if that is of value to us. And then we're going to kind of negotiate based on that, on that conversation. So, I still utilize this. What happens is if you go to a company and they say, what's your budget? And you say £50,000, automatically now they know they got £50,000 to play with, and what they give with you is completely up to them. Whereas if you're asking them, how much is the cost of your service? What can you provide in return for that service? It's a much more kind of progressive approach, in the sense that you're kind of seeing what you're getting first and then paying for it, as opposed to giving away how much you're trying to spend. So I think that's one of the kind of strategies that I always use. I don't give away budgets easily. I always ask for what things are costing from their end. Some of the deals that I've done recently, and I think this will touch back to relationships. Relationships are so important. I've built some good relationships with some good advertising companies that, do the billboards and things like that. And over time, we've kind of become friends. And, now we do reasonable deals. Every so often, we strike a deal, or he'll come to me, or I'll go to him and say, can we do something? And we'll make a deal happen because we're good friends now. We have that relationship going. And so I think focusing on relationships, long-term relationships, is very, very important. I remember in COVID times when we kind of just came out of lockdown, I took serious advantage of that situation, because obviously at the same time we were taking a risk, right? We were kind of expanding in a time where everything was closed, or we were quite uncertain. Are we even going to open back up? Is there going to be customers? Are people going to buy? So obviously taking that into consideration, into mind, I kind of took advantage of that, and we would deal with shopping center leases and things like that when we were doing commercial deals. I used to give them pretty silly offers, pretty silly deals.
Yeah.
Because I know they can't get anyone else right now. So I might as well take advantage of that situation and try and get a good deal. So during that time, we did a few good deals that we're now benefiting from, because back then there wasn't a lot of demand, but now there is. The price compared, before to now is a lot different. So we're still benefiting from those deals. And I think that, don't be afraid to basically sometimes make stupid offers because you obviously within reason. You got to know what you're doing. You
Yeah.
can't just go and like, for example, if it's now, I wouldn't go and make the same deal that I made in COVID. You have to understand the circumstances and the nuances of things, but don't be afraid to kind of lowball people effectively.
You have to analyze the situation
Yeah.
before you make that offer to see is it gonna go any further, or is it gonna sound so stupid? And
Yeah,
like,
no,
you know
100%. If you think it's reasonable to achieve, then go for it. Don't be scared or afraid that someone might look at you in a different way, or you might be embarrassed. Or
some people actually pay more because they think someone else might look at them in a
I know that,
cheap
and that's
way.
what I'm
they'll
saying.
be like, oh my God, look at this guy's so stingy. But end of the day, it is the bottom line that matters.
Yeah.
It's those saving money on every deal that you kind of negotiate. It's those deals that make that difference. If you could get £2,000 cheaper, then why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, is there an example where obviously you've mentioned the shopping centers? Is there any individual that you've made a deal with recently where having that relationship really helped, get this deal over the finishing line quite easily?
Like I said, on the advertising deals, these are personal relationships that we had to kind of leverage to make those deals. But I think that comes every day in, day out, to be honest. Like, we deal with so many people on a day-to-day basis, like whether that be your suppliers, whether that be your contractors. Like, for example, one of our contractors that we use, again, we have a very good relationship. We go out to eat. We sometimes chill together.
We visit each other's house.
We go to each other's houses. And I think having that one-to-one relationship is sometimes everyone's trying to make money. Everyone's trying to do business. He might come out and say a price. I'll be like, come on, mate. Like, you're taking the mick now, basically.
Yeah.
Sort it out.
Yeah.
So it's those relationships. If you didn't have that, you can't really say that to him.
Yeah.
It's a professional kind of barrier, glass barrier. Whereas if you have that relationship, you can just kind of say, look, we have a long-term relationship. We're doing business. Sort it out.
Yeah. And I think having that professional relationship, but with a friendly touch, is very important. Not getting too friendly, because then it kind of backfires on you.
Again, it's striking that balance, is having that not, like you said, it's not getting too friendly, because otherwise they might not take you seriously in terms of professional work.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
That's one thing I've noticed, at least when we moved to this country, the aspect of going to each other's house or taking someone to your house is pretty much non-existent unless you're a family.
It is quite kind of sad. Like, I kind of see it within circles that I'm in, that, when people come to my house, I'm not trying to brag about myself. I always offer to ask, come inside the house, have a cup of tea. It's nice to have that really personal relationships, and I'm even on a friendly level. But I think that nowadays people kind of don't do that. They like to really keep, things quite separate from their personal life. But I mean, each to their own. But I personally think it was nicer when we were all kind of very open. Come to my house, have a meal. That's how you build real relationships, right?
Exactly.
And I think even with work, like, we invite certain people to our houses because we want to have that relationship, come and have a bit of curry.
Non-Asian
we'd love to host you and feed you some of the delicacies of our culture, and they love it. They absolutely love it. And I think it adds to that. What you'll see is that you might have a professional relationship, you might have like a good working relationship, and that works really well, and that's fine. It could get you by. But once you get someone, like, for example, to your house,
you're in the close circle.
Yeah, you basically go to a different level. You'll see a different side to them. They'll be a lot more open to you. It's a whole different relationship altogether.
And I guess you have to judge case by case, like, who you invite to your house as well. Don't invite
everyone to your home.
Yeah. I remember we took our German guests, to our house after the Gherkin event, and that was really nice. The guys really enjoyed themselves, and it was good to kind of have that more of a intimate relationship,
and vice versa. When we went to Germany after that, he took us to his house, and
exactly,
it was nice.
Absolutely. So now, I guess my next question would be, it's a bit off guard. I hope you are ready for it. What is your non-Sunnah Musk favorite fragrance?
Oh, don't do this to me, man. Why are you gonna do this to me? Who put this question? Is you?
Blame Ben.
No, I think obviously I appreciate all good things, and I'm not gonna say Suno Musk is the only fragrance house in the world, and it's literally the best. There are amazing perfumers all around the world that create amazing things, and we appreciate all good perfumery. I think right now, one of my all-time favorites, and it's probably quite common across other people, is Baccarat Rouge 540. I think it's such a phenomenal fragrance. It's got that amazing balance of sort of very sweet saffron. It is an amazing
It's
fragrance.
a
And
piece of art.
Mason Francisco Dijan done an amazing job with that fragrance, and I love it. And I think a lot of people. I walked out of Harrods the other day, and I saw one lady carrying like 7 bags of just Baccarat Rouge 540, and I was like, what a phenomenal fragrance. But I think that's definitely one of my favorites at the moment. If I had to choose another one, oh, it's difficult because there are so many that I like. There are so many that you can choose from. But I do like Tom Ford a lot. I use it. I use a lot of Tom Ford. Noir de Noir is beautiful. Oud Wood is really nice. And of course, legendary fragrances like Creed Aventus. You can never really go wrong with it, right? Bleu de Chanel, amazing fragrances. I use them from time to time.
Definitely. And having said that, a lot of these fragrances are produced by the same fragrance houses that we work with as well as Sonoma.
Absolutely.
So it's really nice to know that, we're kind of effectively sharing the same platform as the major operators.
Absolutely. I mean, one of our lead perfumers makes fragrance for Clive Christian, Killian, Joe Malone, Penhaligon's, all of the perfume brands that you'd see on a mention. So, a lot of the fragrances are created by the same masterminds. And I think that's also obviously buying that experience and buying that kind of knowledge into fragrance, which is why we've decided to go to these perfumers.
Yep.
But I think obviously where we come different is where we brief them, we add our own touch to it, right? We ask them to make it a certain way, maybe add a bit more musky elements to it, or oud-based elements to it. So I think that's where we kind of add our own flair and our own touch, which is always nice.
Interesting. So the next off-guard question is, what would it take for you to leave Sonomas right now? Not as a shareholder, but as a CEO. What would it take for you to just move on? What has to happen, or what would that circumstance look like?
I think goals and targets are always changing for me. Like I can probably say something today, but maybe in 2 years' time that goal might have evolved by then.
Yeah.
But I think as it stands, as a CEO, one of my personal targets, personal goals, is that Sonoma should be £100 million company. Before I kind of move on, that's one of my personal goals. That at least if I've been able to contribute to something that's become to that level, I think that's a good enough personal achievement for me to then move on. Maybe I might do other businesses, or I don't know what I'll do at that point. I don't know if I know. I don't even know if I will leave, but I know if I did that, at least it's a point where I think, you know what, that's a kind of goal.
So I guess you're still on that mission, that path to kind of to prove maybe to yourself, like, you know what, I've done it.
100%. It's a personal goal. It's not to prove it to anyone. It's not to show off.
Yeah.
It's to know that I was able to do it. And, that in itself. I mean, sometimes, like, I was saying this to our CFO yesterday. I was saying, like, yes, obviously money and business and profits are all very important. But to me, I see now business like almost like a sport. It's like we're having a bit of fun. Like it's being able to achieve certain things, because, money can only buy you certain things. Yeah, you're going to buy a nice car, you're going to get a nice house, but then you're still going to sleep. You're still going to do all the different things that every other human does. Like fundamentally, it won't change how you are as a human. Yes, it might add to your life, but it's not going to change who you are. So I think after that, when you get a certain level of comfort, it's all about kind of achieving different goals for yourself. It's like setting challenges for yourself and doing it's like a PB. It's like your personal best, basically.
Definitely, and it's like it's stimulating your brain and your mind.
Yeah.
On a day in, day out, throughout your day, you're effectively like playing chess, like with your mind and strategizing, thinking how I can get 100%. To that goal.
And one other thing also I feel like is a big point to mention within business, and not just obviously our community, it's just like sort of generic, is a lot of people let their egos get in their way.
Oof. too much.
Ego is such a big problem. Like, you need to know when to use your ego, when it plays a good role and when it plays a bad role. When it's stopping you from progressing and, getting things done, that's when it's playing against you. So you need to be very conscious of your own ego and don't let it get the best of you. Because, like, I'll give you an example. Like, over the last 2-3 years, I have learned so much from my own colleagues, whether that be customer advisors, whether that be sales associates or senior level executives within the company. I have learned so much from them to make myself better, and I know more now. Whereas if someone had an ego, they'll be like, I'm the boss, and why am I going to learn from him? And no, it's not like that. You can learn something from everyone. Take the good, leave the bad, and kind of use it. Be clever. Use it to your own advantage. Why not learn something that you can then use later and leverage, then kind of just, ignore it.
As Richard Branson says all the time, it does not make sense to hire smart people and then tell them what to do.
Yeah.
It's foolish.
Yeah.
Okay, so interesting. Do you have a physical routine, health routine?
One of the things that you've been trying to get me into.
Yes.
I actually tried to go to gym. I do have the conscious effort in my head. I do have it. Like, I do want to do it. It's in my mind. But I don't have the discipline as strong as yourself. Because I have a lot of friends, I have a big social life and I travel a lot, it is really hard to find that balance because most of the time I'm at work. And then sometimes in the evening, I might go out to eat, or I might go with my friends somewhere, or, all this social stuff. So then that's kind of left at the kind of back burner, basically. It's not the priority. But I do think that as I'm growing older, almost coming to my 30s now, I start,
as you're getting closer to tying the knot, hopefully sometime soon.
Inshallah.
That friend, outing is going to increase. So the health routine might suffer a little bit until that time happens.
So I think I need to get into it. It's definitely important. And as you said, and as many other people have said, it helps with your sort of mental well-being, your productivity. And I think
it helps you solve a lot of problems when you're going for that jog. Like so many solutions come to your mind.
I think I could probably be more productive if I was a bit more active in terms of fitness.
I think you should definitely consider. I think, having even just jogging, for 2 times or 3 times a day. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes.
You know what my diet consists of?
Wings.
When I'm trying to be well behaved, I have less perfect fried chicken.
Well, yes, I guess that's another subject that we haven't picked on. Your love for hot wings and chips. Yeah. Now we have buddies, supplying that.
Yeah, and I think that's not a good thing at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have a mental health routine?
Mental health routine, I think, is that I keep a strong relationship with people. I am always around good people that are spreading good energy, good vibes. And you know what? To be fair, I have to give credit in terms of where I'm lucky. I'm lucky to have a very good family that are, sort of very uplifting and support you. So, that's a massive support in terms of mental health and well-being. But also, being around friends and picking and choosing the right friends in terms of who is going to actually push you up, not push you down. Because I know there are certain friend circles of people that would actually put people down and, bully people and things like that. So you don't want to be in those environments and those toxic relationships. You want to be where people are kind of trying to uplift you and push you and motivate you. So I always try and surround myself with good people that are spreading good energy, that are supporting what I do. And I think that kind of keeps me on balance and track. And then obviously you got brothers and mothers to kind of keep you in check and disciplined in terms of not doing anything crazy. So it's having that balance and
And also, I think you have to invest in relationships. It doesn't come for free. You have to go out and you have to contribute 100%.
To the meals. Sometimes, like even recently, I've had a few days where Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I've had dinners with people. And sometimes you're thinking, I could just go home and just go to sleep and just chill because it's been a long day. But you have to think that these are relationships that you have to invest in, because ultimately building a relationship will add value to your life ultimately and theirs. So you're right. You have to invest. Sometimes you have to go out of your way to do it. And it's very important. It's
and
necessary.
Financial investment as well. Some people I've seen they would try and kind of act a bit funny when it comes to
paying the bills.
Yeah.
As as a good friend wrote in one of the books we read, don't be stingy, man. Stinginess is one of the worst.
No, miserliness is so like I feel like it makes them more poor. Like the people that are like watching every single penny.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that watching the pennies and just thinking about those little things like avoiding paying a bill and stuff like that, it just kind of makes your mindset a lot smaller. And I think it's if you kind of be more generous, the way I see it is you should change your mindset to think how can I afford this? How can I kind of be comfortable enough to do this? Not the other way where how do I save everything I have?
Yeah.
I want to be able to treat everyone and be okay with it and be happy with it. It should be a motivation.
A lot of people are out there, the penny wise but pound foolish, there is a saying. And I think we should all, as you said, we should try to find ways on how I can afford that meal or how I can give that person that particular gift. And that will only push you up instead of pushing you down. So amazing. So I guess the next question is, you've been very busy towards the end of 2022. Is there anything that you missed out on while you were kind of very busy with Sunamas, traveling up and down the country, in and out of the country? One minute you're in Nottingham, another minute you're in Sweden, another minute you're in Netherlands.
Crazy one.
So have you missed anything? And how did you how did that sacrifice come to you? How did it come across to you?
Like, if you want to do good things in life, great things in life, you have to make some sacrifices. And there's no doubt about that. I could be socializing even more. I could be spending a lot more time with friends, doing whatever I want. But I choose to dedicate most of my life to Sunamas because I know it's something that I enjoy. It's something that I want to build for my future. It's something that will benefit my whole family and, many generations to come. So there is a much bigger purpose and all the kind of charity work that we're thinking to do. So all of those things in mind, I feel like I have a huge responsibility on my head to not only obviously achieve the goals that we want to achieve, but also do our community proud. And I think to do anyone proud, to do yourself proud, to do your community proud, you have to make sacrifice and you have to work hard. So I think that work ethic, again, it also goes back to mum because mum's really hardworking, right? She would
even
work
at this age, this woman is
non-stop.
unstoppable.
Like she will do it like 24/7. If she needed to, she will work 24/7. I think that's where that work ethic comes. But we're kind of always on the go and we always motivated for the next thing. It's not out of hunger for money or anything. It's just like we want to get the next big thing. We want to kind of keep going. It's you're on a rhythm. You're on a momentum. It's
satisfaction, isn't it? It's like if you're a carpenter or something, you build a table or you build a stool, and you kind of admire that creation. So I guess for us, our craft is business.
Yeah.
And trying to create a new business, it gives you that satisfaction.
So now, for example, like we opened in Netherlands, France, Sweden, and Germany. Now I'm thinking, okay, US. Like we're traveling to US next week. How can we kind of go and open there? Let's go and crack that market. So it's always kind of like pushing yourself. It's like going to the gym, right?
Yeah.
When you go to the gym, you don't lift certain kg and say, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to stop here. You always try and kind of get a little bit more weight, push it up, and then kind of just go from there. So it's similar thing. You kind of just push yourself to do more than your capabilities every time, but a little bit more.
Is there also an element of getting noticed by the big boys like Estee Lauders and the LVMH? Hang on, who are these Sunamas people? Like, let's take an interest in them. Is there an element of that to kind of 100% to them?
I think that I always say to anyone that's joining Sunamas on our team, they say, "What's your vision?" And I say, our vision is to be one of the key players in the beauty and fragrance industry. So we want to be recognized as by our competitors. These guys are credible,
on the same level as us,
competitors to us, and I think it would be nice to be on that sort of same table, basically.
Absolutely amazing. Now I will come back to Sunamas Foundation after my next question. How did you find it, or how did you feel, or how did it come across to you? I guess you kind of knew that it was coming when I stepped down as CEO of Sunamas in 2018 to pursue my other ventures. Obviously you did have kind of that transition phase, but how did it kind of feel like now you're on the driving seat, that's it?
You know, like when I was like younger in 2015, 2016, and like obviously at the time I was involved in the operational side and the working and more so in the retail and obviously I was working in the office as well. But you know, certain things like finances and accounts and all that legality side of things, obviously I wasn't that familiar with at the time. And so that was one of the things that I was a little bit scared about. I remember when you were telling me that you were thinking to kind of, you know, step down, I was thinking, you know, that's a bit of a you know, thing, that area that I'm not that familiar with. But I always had faith that, you know, if I put myself in it, I'd obviously learn how to do things. So that was one of the fears that I had. And, you know, it was a big responsibility because obviously
How old were you at that time?
I was 23.
23. So like, it was a huge responsibility.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility to obviously, for something to go from a small startup to obviously where it was even back then, it was very successful.
And we had about 60 people on our payroll or something at that time. And
So, you know, taking responsibility of all that and then kind of also being responsible, not screwing it up the wrong way. It was kind of like a little bit scary. But obviously, because I had like kind of all that years of experience working alongside you from the beginning, it kind of gave me a lot of confidence because at the end of the day, you know, I still knew a lot of things growing up, you know, watched everything kind of happen. So I learned a lot of things on the way, but it was a big responsibility. It was a big kind of challenge. But alhamdulillah, you know,
I think it was definitely a good move on my part at least. And or I guess the circumstance kind of made it happen that way, where you took on the kind of torch. And I guess we've only seen good things coming out of it. So
Alhamdulillah.
And I think a lot of people as well, like, you know, they want to hold on to that responsibility. They don't want to let that go. And I think, I don't want to blow on my own trumpet, but I think when my job is done, when I feel like I've kind of done my part, it's now time to kind of
100%. And I think likewise with me as well. When I know I've done certain things on my own, maybe we'll get an external CEO one day and they'll run it. So it's not just going to be me that's running the company forever. Who knows who's going to be running it in 3-4 years.
So in your mind, what do you think, what is your operational approach and what is my approach? What are the key differences do you notice?
I think that, that's a very difficult question.
Thanks to Ben.
That's a difficult question. I think with you, you're very much driven. When you have a goal, you're driven to get that done, like by hook or crook, as you say. Like, it doesn't matter what cost or what happens in the way or who gets what happens to whoever, you want to get that done. So in terms of discipline of achieving a very key specific goal, you're very good at that, and you kind of want to get it over the line. And obviously, I think that force comes with it, and it's really good because when that force is there behind you, everything kind of falls in line where other people get the same vibe and the energy, and everyone kind of joins that. They have to fall into place. They kind of join that same journey. So that is, I think, one of the kind of strongest skill set I think you hold. Whereas me, I feel like I like to think a bit more strategic, a bit more kind of slow, long burn, not so much on the quick. So I think with me, I don't want to blow my own trumpet. So I think I'll let you answer that question. How do you compare my sort of skills compared to yours?
As you just started off and you kind of stalled, it's the thinking ahead element and thinking it through. And I suppose one element would be entrusting people to just get the job done. Instead of like, for me, I think I have this fear or maybe phobia, or maybe I've been led to kind of become that way, where I would still check, have you done it?
Yeah.
Like maybe I should just leave them to it. Or maybe if I let them, like, you know, kind of
I agree.
fail a few times, then they will just know next time that they should do it.
I think that, you have the element of like, you want to kind of really make sure it's done and done to the way that you want it to be done.
And with you, it's just like, get on with it,
as
boys,
long as,
and we need to get this done, and I'll see you later, or whatever. So interesting. No, it's
I think,
it's
I was just gonna say, I think it's important to note that both of those skills come together actually really, really well. Because when something's going a bit slow, you'll come in and say, you know what, this is taking too slow. Boys. Like, let's get this crap done. Like, let's get it over the line. Whereas I'll be like, if you want to do something, too fast, then I'll be like, no, we shouldn't do it like this. We should do it like this. So I think it's a very, very complementary to each other.
I think another thing is the element of not settling for second best is what you, I guess, hold like, no, I want the best.
Yeah.
And that is the only way.
Yeah.
For example, most recent experience with buddies.
Yeah.
We've had a situation with our Blazing Burger.
Yeah.
And my approach was, guys, let's just go with it. We've got a decent product, but you kept on saying, no, let's rework. Let's rework.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that until the product is right and until you can fully stand behind it, I think you should hold off until you can really, really be proud and say, you know what, this is what I've created and this is what I've done. Here it is.
Very good. And I think we will take some Instagram questions that we've received.
Let's go for it. Those are interesting ones.
Yes, interesting ones. But before I get jump onto that and end the show today, I want to talk about the Sunamas Foundation, or just even without Sunamas Foundation, what has Sunamas done in terms of CSR and charitable acts?
So on an ongoing monthly basis, we have a top line revenue, a percentage of the top line revenue that goes to charity. That is used back in Bangladesh, in one of our own organizations for charity work, which includes educational support, feeding, clothing, and supporting very young, some of them are orphans, destitute children. Now, we've been doing that for the last however long Sunamas has been around, since the inception of Sunamas. But because our mother has such an inclination towards charity work, and she's so giving, like I'm not even joking. If I give her £200 today, she will not keep that £200. She will give it to someone. Like she will buy something for someone back home, or give them a gift, or
get them married.
She will do something. She does not buy anything for herself. I kid you not. So I think.
And when we get something for her, she did.
Yeah,
it feels like
it's annoying.
Feels like she doesn't appreciate it.
It's annoying. It's annoying sometimes. Like we'll give her a gift and she'll be like, she'll give it to someone else, or she'll spend it on someone else.
Yeah.
It's really annoying, but I guess that's the nature of kind of, having that open heart and being so selfless. And I think that's kind of like rubbed onto us a little bit. And I think we want to do more, not just away, but both in the UK, home, all around the world. So we're actually working on creating and setting up Sunamas Foundation, which will be the charity arm of Sunamas, where we will kind of, donate a percentage of the revenue that we generate. But
and
also,
just to clear, this is our own distribution that we want to kind of distribute, not collect funds from, going on charity appeals or something.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, so there's going to be two ways it's going to work. One is we're going to kind of support it with our own kind of finances and from our own revenues and profits.
And the
but
zakat element that we incur every year.
Zakat is an element that you have to give 2.5% of your net kind of possessions, which works out to a lot, and we kind of obviously funnel that to charity, and we kind of distribute that every year, and we have to do that anyway. There's no choice. I mean, we're not doing a favor or anything.
Because mum is like a HMRC officer within, you open up a branch in Sweden, she knows about that. There's a tax liability from a charity point of view.
She knows all these updates. She'll come say,
I'm like, how does she even know? Like, we didn't even tell her.
Yeah, so I think one of the streams will be obviously, majority of the money will come from our own kind of revenues and profits, but there will be an arm, and we will host events and things like that where our customers and our supporters can get involved if they want to, and support the charity and support the causes that we're already doing. So that should be hopefully being set up, let's say Q2 this year, inshallah.
And it will have its own board of trustees and external people that will kind of oversee the operations.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Fantastic. So question from Instagram, Afi Kali, how do me and my brother start off business like yourselves?
Well, I would say, first of all, find something that you guys are interested in starting, an idea, a concept, a product, something that you find a gap in the market, something that can solve a problem. And then kind of get together and start it. There's not much to it. There's not much to it. A limited company is something like what? How much is peanuts, right? To set up, it's so cheap to set up a limited company. You set up a limited company, you go to the bank account, you set it up. That doesn't cost much or anything. And then you kind of, that's it. I mean, if it's a product, whether that's, I mean, these days you can start online businesses, you know.
And you know, sometimes people don't even need to go for a limited company and all, like the bank account, like that. They could start
Yeah, I mean,
immediately.
we started with nothing.
Like as a sole trader.
We started
That's
with
how
nothing.
we started.
No bank account, no, not even a cash drawer, to be honest.
Yeah.
We used that tin thing.
Yeah, when we saw like, you know, there was more money, so we went to Argos and
Yeah,
bought
so
that
so just
little
to just
flip
just
drawer.
to take an example, when we started Synonymous, you brought that tray from City Airport where you used to work in,
yeah,
that milk tray,
that was stolen actually.
covered it with velvet. I said, she did it, like, her sister
Yeah.
did it. She covered it in velvet, decorated, and started. There
Yeah.
is not much to it. You get the product and you start selling. It's as
Don't
simple.
cause any hindrance to
Don't
yourself.
start
Just
thinking too much about how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that, all the complications, all the bad things, all the long things. Just sell the product.
like, it's a transaction. The transaction needs to happen. The moment you get engaged into that transaction, selling your product and getting the money in exchange, that is it. You're
Yeah,
in business.
that's
And
it.
just keep going.
Keep going.
I say minimum 3 years. It's like a jail sentence. You have to do it. Don't look right. Don't look left. Whatever you started
Yeah.
on, give it 3 years and
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course, having a understanding between the brothers in terms of who's going to do what. Are some people sleeping partners?
Again.
If they are, then keep them sleeping
Again,
partners.
be very clear. Partnership agreement, like have it all very clear. Like from the beginning, doesn't matter if it's a small startup. Like who is doing what. You remember, right? My brother, second brother,
He used to write
was
everything down.
always like very professional. Even back in the day, I mean, even he was probably ahead of time at the time. Like
Yeah.
he used to want to write everything down. Whose responsibility? Who agreed to what? Minutes, sign. Everything.
Shafique's £2.50 was refunded
Yeah.
because it was an expense claim. Oh my god!
Yeah,
Like, we have that blue book
Yeah,
somewhere
everything
still.
was written down. So I think that's a key lesson.
And when you go back in time as well, like 10 years now that we're 12 years old with Sonomas, when you see like £3 revenue for that day, it's so inspiring and humbling. So definitely write it all down. The next question is, how do we successfully manage cash flows, etc., with employee wage, rents, and stocks?
I think when you start a business, you always got to be conscious of costs. That is something that you want to keep to an absolute minimum. Whether that's rent, whether that's staffing, whether that's anything. You don't want to, let's say you saved up £50,000 to start a business. Some people save that much amount of money to start a business. You don't want to go and spend that straight away. You want to keep as much as you can for any rainy day or whatever. You want to start off with an absolute minimum. So the rents, negotiate a good price, get the best deal, something that you know you can afford, and you know that's well within your projections in terms of what you can achieve. Staff costs, again, be very kind of conscious. You know, when we started out, you know, we were very conscious about how we can kind of pay staff or keeping staff to an absolute minimum. We used to work hard ourselves. We used to fill in the gaps in between. Operation stuff we used to do ourselves. We never used to get someone else to do it, right?
I
We used to
remember the uncle who's the credit controller or the assistant CFO. He used to do warehouse deliveries. He used to do retail sales. He used to do cash count.
Everything.
You have to be an
I
all-rounder
was
initially.
graphics designer, salesperson in the day, sales manager on another day. Like, we're doing everything.
You
like,
have to wear those different hats. Like, you have to quickly change your uniform.
so yeah,
like, you know,
until you got a business that's profitable and that's self-sustaining, then you can think of, you know, hiring talent and attracting talent and getting better stuff. But I think when you're a startup, I mean, I think this message is specifically for startups. You want to keep your costs as low as possible.
And I think it comes to a point as well. I think when you're kind of going from a small company to a small company, it's like you're doing a lot of juggling. Like, you know, you're kind of like an air traffic controller, this. Like, you know, you are taking a really hands-on approach in terms of the cash flow management, because that's what I was doing when we were opening in Westfield, and we had more of Wood Green to pay rent for, and it was constant juggling day in, day out.
Again,
juggling.
and those relationships came into play, right?
Definitely. Oh, Jackie, you know, yes, and I'll sort it out. And when you say you'll sort it out, do sort it out. Don't
Stick to your words.
Don't let them chase you.
Stick to your words.
Definitely. And I think that is something that really worked for us. We did have some loans, like, you know, when we were opening up in Westwood, and I
Personal
remember.
loans to clarify.
Sorry.
Personal loans to clarify.
Personal loans, and when we said we will pay, we did pay. And if for whatever reason we couldn't pay, then we will tell them we couldn't pay, but we will pay.
Yeah,
on
it's all about
so-and-so day."
communication, right? If you tell someone you're gonna, do something on X day, or you're gonna pay the rent on X day, and you go ghost,
Nah, don't do that.
that's it. You're basically ruining a whole relationship. They will never
Literally.
trust you again. They will never do you a favor again.
It's like credit rating, we're
Whereas-
on a real time.
Yeah. Whereas if I say Thursday I'm gonna pay you for rent and I couldn't make it for somebody, I'll call up and say, look, this is the situation. I'll be honest with you, this was happening, but look, I'm not going anywhere. We are gonna do it on X day. So communicate, whatever it is, regardless of if you can, you can't communicate.
Yeah. No.
And obviously try and stick to it if you can, to the best of your ability.
Definitely. Now, I guess the next question is, how do you brothers prevent burnout? For me, I'll go first. When you enjoy what you do, I don't think you can't, obviously you get tired, but there is less of burnouts because you kind of, as soon as you wake up, you're thinking it's another day, what are we going to do differently? It's going to be so fun. So for me, yes, burnout doesn't really occur when you really enjoy what you do. And I guess secondly, when you do get in that.
I'm telling you, this guy is a machine. I'm not even joking. He is a machine. Like, he can work 24 hours. Like,
Literally,
he's
my
a
routine
mad
is
guy.
the moment my eyes open, that's it. The brain is switched on. And
I'm more high intensity. I feel like when I'm working, I can, for a few hours, I can go in hard and I can crack out. But in terms of stamina, I can't mess with your stamina.
and I think most recently, just before pandemic, when I started the gym routine and jogging and all of that really, really helped.
Again, that is also a testament to obviously your stamina and your discipline. That the fact that you were able to lose that much weight,
I was 85 kilo.
and get to where you are, that shows that when he says something, he's gonna do it.
Yeah, it has to happen. It has to happen. Look, let's not. The thing is, as a business, not every business succeeds. There are certain ones that fail, and I have had failures before Sunnah Mask and even after Sunnah Mask.
Yeah,
and I guess these are stories for other podcasts, but. Yes, we do make mistakes, and the main thing is you get back up and keep moving. For
me, burnout, I think that I have or try to keep a decent balance to work. Like, obviously we get together as family. One thing we do a lot, all of us 5 brothers get together and sometimes we just have a laugh. We just laugh. We just laugh for hours and end, just making jokes and having a laugh. And I think those are the things that kind of really keep you relaxed,
laughing,
right?
It gives that vibe, positive kind of energy in your brain.
It's like life's not that all about just work and seriousness and just, doing things, business things. It's also about enjoying time with your friends and family.
Playing with children. It gives that really positive kind of you feel so good when you play with kids.
And for me, personally, I think that taking breaks, going to places, traveling is good. It's important.
Holiday really does switch off.
Yeah,
switch you off for a while.
Like, you're working so hard, and I see this in the corporate world a lot. Like, people work so hard, and they're so and don't get me wrong, it's good to be dedicated to your employer. Of course it is, but at the same time, you've got to give a bit of time to yourself. You've got to enjoy all that money you're making. What's the point of it if you're not going to enjoy it?
Yep, no, 100%. And this is why many people see me on my Instagram. I do go and have a nice coffee. And this is to kind of stop me from getting into the habit of stinginess.
Yeah.
Because once you kind of are on this path of accumulation, you just want to save everything.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to spend. So for me, buying that coffee in the morning, yes, it's a cost. But I guess it's a discipline to myself. Don't think you're going to keep your money forever. Yeah. Do enjoy it while you have it.
Absolutely.
I guess the next one is it's a very tricky one. Have you ever lied as an entrepreneur?
I don't think I have. I don't know. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong where you've noticed I have. I don't think I have.
Personally, knowingly, we don't want to lie, and this is not something that we do.
There's a difference between sort of being diplomatic in your answers and outright lying.
Point blank lying.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever outright lied. But there's sometimes ways in things where you can say things where it's not as obvious, or you're kind of being diplomatic to kind of manage a situation or a relationship. So yes, those things you have to do in business.
I guess that's just in business. You're kind of trying to protect yourself, and sometimes you have to You know, if you have, for example, an enemy coming for you.
Apart from I was not speeding officer.
Okay, that's you as a personal life, but as an entrepreneur, no. I think that is something that we've been taught as well by our father and mother, like never to take advantage of people and never to be unfair to people to a point where they lose out, knowingly that you've done something to them and they got impacted.
And I think it's good that alhamdulillah, all 5 of us brothers are like that. And we're all bouncing off each other because no one does it. So we don't get an idea to do it.
I really pray to Allah that it stays that way. Because mom is still here and she's obviously definitely a part. She's that gel in between us. And then I hope that day never comes. But, you know, I pray to Allah that we stick by together Inshallah. The way we have been. And, you know, it's amazing, like, you know, just sharing jokes and banters, like, as if we're all friends. Even the eldest one, he's like, what, 45 or something?
He's the funniest of all of them.
In a setting, he's the youngest one.
If you see him outside, you think, like, you know, big sheikh, and, you know, like, you'd never speak to him, but we're all very cool with each other. We get along really well. Alhamdulillah.
Definitely. And now let's end it off with your recent success about the car that you've purchased. And of course, you know, I'm sure you had an array of cars to choose from with the budget that you've had. Me personally, I probably would have gone for a Ferrari or something, but you went for the Porsche instead of the Lamborghini. I know that was a contender in terms of the choice. Yeah. Why did you go for Porsche?
That was... I'm not even joking. That was one of the hardest decisions I've had to make. Because number one, it's a car that is very expensive and I'm buying it a long time. I'm not going to act like it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. And I worked very hard for it and I wanted it for a long time. So to spend whatever it is, you know, a lot of money on a car, it was a big decision on what to buy. So I was very much in between buying a Lamborghini Huracan Evo Spider, which is, we all know, I mean, it's a very sexy car in that sense. It's got a lot of appeal. It gets a lot of attention. It sounds incredible. The V10, the roof down. So all of that was really, 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 really amazing. But then you had this other car, which is the Porsche 911 GT3, which I've been eyeing up for a long, long time as a real car enthusiast myself. I've always been into cars. I've always been passionate about cars. Anyone that knows about cars knows that Porsche 911 GT3, GT3 RS, GT2 RS are king of Nürburgring where the cars are tested. So in terms of driving purist enthusiasm and passion, that is the car to get. So those are two very split decisions. And I was like, you know this, for weeks on end, I was very confused. And I was asking almost like my family, close people, like, what do you think I should do? I don't know what to do. And in the end, ultimately, I
remember you asked Asif from ProSmart, like, which car? And he goes, are you silly?
Yeah. He goes to me, I go to him, Lamborghini Huracan or 911 GT3. He goes, are you silly? Like, are you even asking a question? Porsche 911 GT3 is a man's car.
And I think it is a sophisticated car. It's not you're like, hey, I've got money and, you know, I've got money to show off.
So that's the point that I was going to come to. I think, you know, I didn't want to personally come across as my own personal brand to come across as this guy that's trying to show off because I've made a bit of money, because that isn't the case. I'm actually buying the car because I genuinely enjoy driving nice cars and fast cars. And so I feel like the Lamborghini would have given an impression, although you shouldn't really care about what people say anyway, but I feel like it would have given the impression that I'm trying to show off, which I'm not. Whereas the Porsche is a little bit more sophisticated. It's a little bit more low-key. Not as many people know what it's about, but the people that do need to know what it's about, they know what it's about. And I think one of the things that I'll say about Porsche, and one of the things that actually led me to make the decision, is I was like, okay, we've got two cars, right? So I think very logically, like it's almost point by point. One is Lamborghini Huracan. It's got all of this, you know, appeal and the attention that it gets. The other one is the 911. It's a beautiful car in terms of design and performance. But what does it have over the Lamborghini? It's got heritage. It's got years of evolution. It's got, like, Porsche have a history of winning races in F1 and Le Mans and all of those sort of things. So I feel like that was more of a real authentic, pure decision to make as a vehicle than the Lamborghini. So ultimately I thought, you know what? Forget what will give people the wow factor and what will please the crowd. I'm going to choose what I actually want, what would make me happy. Because ultimately, if you're chasing people's woos and, you know, kind of you want people to say wow to your car. That's an empty fulfillment that you're searching for. Because, yeah, people are going to say, wow, wow, wow. But what's that going to do for you? It's just going to build your ego for a little bit.
When you go home and tuck into bed,
that's
like,
it.
It's
so,
you and yourself
so you
only.
would rather get something that you actually think that, you know what, I bought something that I wanted to. It makes me happy and I enjoy it. So ultimately, I chose the decision of my own.
Was there a financial investment driving factor into this as well, like where one car loses more value than the others, or one car goes up in value?
Porsche 911s are known for holding very good value. I mean, they hardly depreciate. If anything, most of the time they do appreciate. So again, as a businessman myself, you know, I've always got to keep that into consideration as well, in the sense that obviously you don't want to be stupid and, you know, lose 50 grand on a car. That's just like really silly. So
I mean, most of the cars that you've had, you kind of like not lost anything.
Yeah.
Even though like you've driven it for like
100%.
40,000 miles or something.
Yeah, because I like I say, you know, going back to the deals, like I like to do deals, and this car I waited 7-8 months. I wasn't impatient. I was like, I'm going to get the right specification. I'm going to get it for the right price. I'm going to get everything the way I want it. So that comes with dedication, being patient, and I've done that. So I think when you do it like that, you get certain deals, good deals, and you benefit from that, even financially, because ultimately you don't lose that much money as well.
All right. Thank you so much for sparing some time with us.
I have to say, I think this is probably one of the best podcasts I've done, because I think obviously you know the right questions to ask.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like more of a conversation. I don't think I've asked you certain questions in my life, to be honest. So I think I've got to learn a lot more about you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people will have a lot of questions like that. They probably would have wanted answers to. I would suggest that they leave a comment below or something, and then we can maybe have another follow-up podcast maybe in a few months' time. And you know, once
you kind of get the whole thing going.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, and
thank you for having me.
I look forward to kind of speaking on a similar level in the very near future. Thank you.
Inshallah.
Hey guys, thank you very much for watching Side by Side with Kazi Shafiqur Rahman. I hope you have benefited from the tips and strategies that we've discussed with our guest today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.